Nah, crap, this wasn't looking good. I had a project come up to check some wireless internet sites in the Manawatu and around Kimbolton and Whanganui. About the same time I also received a flyer from my great mate Cameron Craigie from Christchurch, inviting me to attend a gathering of the Land-Rover Series 1 group at a North Canterbury High Country sheep station up the Waitohi River in the Hurunui district, just south of Hanmer Springs. Well, it'd be just rude not to. I contacted the network operator I was to meet and asked if the inspection could be pushed out by a week, and suddenly the planets all aligned, and I set off on an 8-day adventure loaded with test gear, flash gear, old gear and even camping gear. On Monday I drove from Auckland to base myself in Palmerston North. The testing went quite well as the weather was really good. One of the sites we visited was the Bastia Hill Water Tower, where we had to check a radio link. This stately monument had taken a bit of a beating following the Kaikoura earthquakes, and with over 100 km/h gusts, I was having some issues holding the camera steady enough to take a photograph of the radio link. On Thursday I repacked my gear in the motel and loaded the Land Rover Discovery and headed to Raumati north of Wellington to meet up with my old mate Steve Stant in his impeccably restored 1952 Series 1 when disaster struck. I was just enjoying the new motorway section south of the Otaki when the phone goes, "It's Steve. How do you feel about playing sardines in Leon's Landy? Why, what's happened?" Steve's Series 1 had been plagued by a persistently weeping fuel tank following the hammering our vehicles took in the last Series 1 run around the East Cape back in March 2022. A couple of weeks ago he swapped the fuel tank out for a new old stock unit, and today, fortunately I guess, it had split a seam right across the front and petrol was pouring out. I managed to convince Steve that travelling south in the Discovery is not the end of life as we know it, and there's bound to be a spare seat, which we confirmed with Cameron before heading to the Inter-Islander. A quick change of the rego on the boarding pass and we're heading south, along with Leon's Wetloot and Darren Markenstein in Leon's 1957 Series 1. We stayed the night at Ian Butcher's place on the Port Underwood Road, northeast of Picton. Ian is an avid collector of all things Land Rover, with a vast collection of early Land Rovers, including a couple of the oldest examples in the country. Ian was going to join us with his good friend Mike Lawler on our journey south. From Ian's place we fueled up and stocked up on groceries at Blenheim, including a couple of medicinal pies for breakfast, and headed south from Blenheim to access the Molesworth Awatere Valley via Taylor Pass, a much more old Land Rover path to follow than sharing State Highway 1 to Seddon.
Palmerston North.
This is only the second time I had been through the Molesworth and the first time to drive it myself. The previous time we were also in a convoy of 5 other Series 1s, heading to the 70th birthday celebrations in Methven in 2018. On that occasion we had crossed the strait in the morning and headed through the Molesworth in deteriorating weather, and with the impending bottom gate closure at 7 p.m, we didn't stop to enjoy the scenery. But today was very different. Today was clear, hot with a persistent northerly wind, and with the previous day's wet weather meant there was little dust to contend with.
Perfect, look at that. Yep, that's exactly what I was after. Look at that!
It was crystal clear when we came through it.
Blue one. K's 2 miles.
Yeah.
Just burn my buggery session. Is it just the headlights?
It's 100 kilometres from the turnoff just before Seddon on State Highway 1 to the top gate of Molesworth Station, so most of the journey is on reasonable public roads. Here we stopped for lunch next to the original Cobb homestead built in 1866.
Yeah, these ones. Is he a proper farmer or?
From the entry to Molesworth Station, we bid farewell to the upper catchment of the Awatere and climbed steadily over Ward's Pass to descend into the Acheron River, but still following the sentinel lines of power pylons which stretch to infinity in each direction.
Tough life in the motorbike.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of those old, early.
We briefly meet the Severn River, which we crossed before entering the Acheron Gorge, where the river has ground its way south through the rock, with 3 suspension bridges erected for the construction of the high voltage power lines, which at places appear to be lower or level with the road.
Well, man, I told you, fishing when we were, travelling and stuff like that.
It's a further 60 kilometres from the start of the Molesworth Station to the southern gate next to the Acheron accommodation house, which we reach about 3:30 p.m, so we've got some time to have a look around the old hotel. Built by Ned James, the Acheron was built 3 years previous to the Molesworth Cobb homestead in 1863 and was used up until 1932 for travellers and stockmen moving through the inland route between Nelson and Canterbury. This is one of a series of accommodation houses which included Top House, Rainbow, Tarndale, Jolly's Pass, Waiā Ferry and the Hurunui. Travellers could get from Nelson to Christchurch in 6 days and be assured of a shelter at the end of each day's travel. With the day drawing on, we decided to have a go at Jolly's Pass, which is the first ridge crossing leaving the Clarence River, as opposed to Jack's Pass, which is further west, passing over the same ridgeline. Jolly's Pass has a reputation of being a bit rougher and more of a four-wheel drive track, as opposed to Jack's Pass, which is a well-maintained road.
You alright?
Jolly's Pass was not that bad. It was as potholed as Broadway Street in Stratford and as overgrown as a Whanganui Low Mow Park, but it was an easy two-wheel drive trip. Driving down Amuri Ave through Hanmer on a clear spring evening with the deciduous trees full of green leaf and the sun breaking through is a different green world from the Molesworth. We headed south on State Highway 7 through Culverden and timed our arrival at the Hurunui Hotel, just perfect for a great meal around 6 p.m. From the Hurunui Hotel we turned off State Highway 7 and headed west through Harwarden into the foothills of the Puketaraki Range, up the Waipara Valley, to Road's End and a little patch of paradise called Whitnow Station. We knew we were in the right place when we saw an immaculate 1952 Series 1 parked out front of the Shearers' Quarters, our home for the next couple of days.
There's a few of them in there. sheep out here, right?
This far inland, it's hard to tell public roads from station access tracks, and our trip leader was becoming concerned we may have missed a turn-off at some point. We had a physical street address, but not too many letterboxes out this way.
As I said, it was 2081. We just passed 1700 at the bottom of the hill.
No, this is it. So we must drop down to that valley. Yep, explore the road according to this.
The place appeared to be deserted until we saw Graham and Josephine Martin's 1949 Series 1 parked across the river outside a cute cottage, connected by a pedestrian swing bridge. We grabbed the beer all three and wandered across. The cottage was the station owner's mountain getaway, our hosts, Donald and Carolyn Williamson, whose 1952 Land Rover we were just admiring outside the sharers' quarters.
Unless there's no way in. No, somebody's trying to see. It's Graham's Land Rover. 49 Rover.
It's been a long day, and tomorrow we've got some mates coming round for a play on the hills, so better get some sleep.